what if the strongest man in the room is actually showing up running on empty? We see this in boardrooms. We see this in even households with families and all. And a lot of the guys that I work with and my guest today works with, they are doing big things in their life with careers, or they're financially stable or whatnot, but they have some challenges with time management, with their health, with their mental health. And these are things that we wanted to open up the conversation with. And the grind of life is costing you something. And we need to figure that out. And if you're listening to the show, you are looking for answers around improving your health. And we're going to talk about that, but also the mental health side of things too. And you do not have to do this alone. Most guys are especially in their later years of life, 40, 50, 60, and they don't have a lot of actual real relationships that have any sort of value outside of acquaintances and all. And that's what I'm bringing on Mista U from the Men's Roundtable series to talk about the high performance culture, why men need brotherhood, and how to actually change. He's been doing this for, it's been well over 2 decades. He's built a company. He's crushing things in his own life and wants to translate that into other men. And that's what his mission is. So, Mr. U, welcome to episode 142 of Driven for Health podcast. Excited to have you.
Thank you, Coach Brian. Appreciate you being here or having me here. And I'm glad to be here to talk with you, man.
Exactly. So we're gonna let's jump into a little bit about you and what you're gonna bring to the show. Like, what's the biggest takeaway that you want guys listening in to have, so that they just like pull out some pen and paper and start taking notes here?
I think you touched it a little bit, man. I know this sounds really simple coming out of my mouth, but we don't have to do this alone. I stress community in everything that I do because I recognize what isolation looks like and the destination that you end up at when you go into that space of isolation, kind of trying to control the environment and just trying to make things work best for you from a comfort standpoint. Community breaks all of that. Community pushes us into hard places and allows us to not only see ourselves, but see others with a different perspective. So I push community. And what I see, just to answer your question, Brian, is that men, generally speaking, who we come in contact with, has been over 6 years of the show of the podcast space. But with men coaching, this is year 30 that we're in right now. It's the same situation. Men think they can do it by themselves. They think they don't need anybody's help. They don't need to share anything with anybody, have anybody to lean on, and always had disastrous results. So that's number one. If I can rank some things that men are dealing with or not dealing with, that would be number one.
Yeah, it's like the blind leading the blind, because you're leading yourself, but you don't actually know where you're going or what you're missing out on, or having third person perspective from the outside looking in. It was like,
yeah.
Hey, bro. In my house, I got 4 kids, and everyone's a bro. So, hey, bro. Even my daughter, my wife, I'm a bro. My daughter.
Oh my goodness.
So like, hey, bro. Yeah, you're doing things that seem out of character and out of alignment. What's going on? And if you don't have someone to pull you out of that, or get you to pause and think and become aware of your current situation, or your thought patterns, your behavior patterns, or anything like that, you could just literally wander down this rabbit hole for a while, and it can lead to some, unfortunately, pretty destructive places as we go. And that is very disruptive to people's lives and other people's lives. So not just the singular man, but the sphere of influence that person has around them as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's where the action is. That's where the challenge is for men. So we need each other more than we want to let on sometimes. So.
Yeah, very much so. I find myself, I'll admit that I can be, people have called me a lone wolf, like business partners and stuff. And even my wife will call me out. It's like, hey, you need to go do something with someone, like a real person. Because
wow.
I really attach to a provider role. And I will hustle, I'll grind, I will put in the work. Even this podcast, 142 episodes since September 23rd.
Congratulations, man. Congrats,
Thank you.
man.
That's a significant amount of just me talking to my computer, plus all the research and the post production, and you know all about that because you've been releasing
Yes, sir.
shows too. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to do these things, and I'm happy
Definitely.
to do it. But
Definitely.
still, so I have my three amigos. We've got Dan, Chris, Leo, and even my fourth one we would do with Andy as well. And but these guys center around other mutual interests. So basically, we all work out together in a sense.
Okay.
Chris and Dan. Dan's actually a middle school friend of mine. Literally, I've known this guy my whole
Wow.
life, pretty much since I was like 13 or something,
That's amazing.
which is really cool. And we have been best friends basically since high school. We played band together. We did track cross country together. He's the one who got me to go work at Burger King with them. He's like, come work with me. And so like we've been like amigos in a sense for a while, but he's got 4 kids and Chris has 4 kids and Andy has 3 kids and Leo has 5 kids and I have 4 kids and
Wow.
we're super busy, man. And so our time together is like, let's work out, let's have community that way. And that really checks a lot of boxes for us in a sense. But without those guys that I share more personal stuff with and have more proximity to, especially with just time too, because if you don't have time, there isn't proximity, right? You have to develop relationships over time. And so, but other than that, everyone else is an acquaintance in my life. And I can be social, I can be friendly and all this, but it doesn't have depth. And I can't get called out because I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to be open. I'm not going to show layers. Like everyone's always going to see Brian is happy-go-lucky, energetic fitness guy in a sense, but they won't see some of the other challenges because I'm a human and I have challenges just like anyone else does. So I'd be silly to say I didn't. So for you, what do you see with the community that you're growing, with the conversations you're having on the roundtable? And we had our podcast episode, which was wonderful and awesome. That's why you're here. But then I'm going to be getting into some of these roundtable series as well. So I'm really looking forward to rolling my sleeves up with guys talking about real things. So let's jump in about what are some of the things that the roundtable series is actually covering for guys.
Well, it's really multi-layered, but because I know that as men we want the bottom line, we want to kind of lay it out one sentence. I can't do that with this show because it has so many layers to it. Right. But I think if there's a central point, we just want men to know that they're not only not alone, but that there is a safe space for them to deal with the stuff that nobody in the world, whether it be family, relationships, media, wants to even acknowledge even exists. So we just, I feel compelled, I call it an epiphany for lack of a better word, to open up this safe space. I've been in the coaching realm this is year 30 that I'm in right now. Yeah. Never really focused on men solely until maybe about a little less than 2 years ago. So it's been more of a renewed focus. And that's what we're trying to accomplish there. We talk about the father wound. We talk about mental health struggles. We had a 2-month series on mental health, and we still have more meat on the bone. We had to end it because we're at the end of our series time, but that was extensive to say the least. Relationships. Going, huh? Yeah, relationships with other men, which is something that, you don't hear discussed really at all. I'm a part of a blended, I'm a part of a blended family. So the step parent versus the father thing, we deal with that kind of stuff. So there's really nothing on the table. We dealt with everything except maybe 2 very sensitive issues so far, but it's been over a year since last summer. We deal with everything, man. And I'm impressed by these men on this panel because I didn't think my timeline was not what actually happened. I said, you know what? I know, man, because I'm a man. I'm gonna give it a year before men start opening up. It took a week. These guys were spilling. They were spilling. They were on air, sobbing. Some of these guys, or at least teared up in most cases, and just spilling and just sharing everything. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that. And these men have evolved. They've grown. They're taking personal responsibility for what's going on in their life and where they are and are not emotionally, spiritually, mentally, etc. It's been an incredible journey, man. I'm honored to just be a part of it. I'm humble. I'm humble by it. I learn something every episode. I learn something too, even though I'm moderating everything. I'm learning something every single week, man. So it's a pleasure. So sad to have you on board too, man. I can't wait to get you in the box with us, man.
I like to be vulnerable and have authentic conversations. So I will try. I'll definitely do my best to bring the heat. And
you'll be fine, man. I'm excited, man.
And so some of the things that I'm dealing with too, that I've shared on other podcasts. I think episode 59, I believe, I was getting coached by Coach John Bellawood, and he was talking to me about just like who I am, why am I doing things, what are these drivers underneath me, and it's just like father wounds. Like my father hasn't been an active part of my life for 20 years. I'm 43. So I have no wisdom in a sense from above that's being dispelled onto me. My grandfathers, they passed away in the 90s. And then my dad, after I got out of college, it just became this just separation and stuff, because I have a blended family as well. My parents divorced when I was about 12-ish or so, and I saw my dad every other weekend. And so that was less men in, a man in my life dispelling wisdom and guidance. And I always looked up to my father. And then it just, at some points, it's like, this guy is not relevant to me anymore. Like, I don't know who he is. He definitely doesn't know who I am and what I've been doing. And he has no relationship at all. I don't think he's really even seen my kids, which is sad, but true. Yeah. And so we have father wounds. We have this lack of men. And so if I don't have that connection with my father, then how open can I be with any other man as well?
Yeah.
And if I don't have self-awareness to put myself in positions, in a sense, or they say this podcast as a platform, it's really easy for me to just be in my own little bubble. And it's like the blind leading blind. I'm just going about my way, and there's no outside influence around someone that is wanting to look at me in a sense, or help me, or guide me, or shepherd me, or wisdom, all that stuff. So let's talk about what ends up being the top one or two things that you see that men are challenged with more than maybe some other issues.
I think one thing comes to mind immediately, and that's the intentional shedding of the narrative. We all have, we talked about it multiple times on multiple shows. It's almost a weekly topic where there's this playbook it's kind of an invisible playbook. And we have so much that we're generationally fighting through. And one thing I see that comes to the surface is that we have to, kind of shed the role. You mentioned the provider role earlier. Yeah, it sounds cool. Sound like two cool words, but what's attached to it? How does it impact our children in our household, the next generation? How does it impact our spouse? How does it impact our ability to not only be there as a provider, but also be there for our family in the other ways that matter too? The ways that they're going to care about years down the line. They ain't going to remember, dad went to work every day for 60 hours. They're going to remember what you did with them, how you spent time with them, how you invested in them. Were you at their games? Were you at their recitals? That's what they're going to remember. So that's probably the first thing, is kind of shedding those narratives and being intentional about it and recognizing that, shedding and identifying those narratives, because sometimes some guys don't even see it. They've been doing it 5 generations deep and don't even know that this is the problem. Those are, that's probably 2 all wrapped up in one. I think the second one is the whole vulnerability piece. Oh yeah. I love that you already dropped that word on your show already, because that one was the one that is the tough one. I hear what you're saying about having these 4 guys in your life and how you're there for each other. A lot of guys that are on the show, they know that that's the right way to go. They know that there's safety in the multitude of counsel, if you will. Yep. But they don't take the actions that are required to get there. Right. They don't do, because these guys, people should know that they can call me at 2-3 in the morning and I'll take their call because I said I would. I don't want them to be the guys on the bridge or in the dark of the night with a bottle of pills in their hand. I don't want them to be that person. I'd rather put myself out there to be there for them in that moment, whether we have a distance between us geographically or not.
Right.
But the second thing I think is the problem is that the guys, they know this in here, but in application, they don't put it into place. They don't have these trusted uh, board of directors in their life, the people who they know they can go to no matter what happens, no matter where they are in the world, no matter where they are in the season. They haven't spoken to the guy in weeks and months. They know that they can reach out and call them guys. We talk about it at the end of most shows, but when we hang up and we close out, the broadcast is over. They deal with stuff and they don't always pick the phone up. So those are the two things that we've been stressing a lot lately. I have no idea why those two things have been the topics, but they have been the vulnerability piece for sure. And the second one.
Right, right. Shedding the narrative. So provider role for me, that's very strong. I have 4 kids, so they literally just cost a lot of time and money. Right? So there's no way
Absolutely.
around it.
You know
There's
it.
no way around that. And I have to accept that responsibility because I literally created them. So I do. But last week we were in Alaska for about 8 days and I
Wow.
spent a lot of time with them and we had amazing things. We saw all sorts of whales and orcas and wildlife and adventures and did all these things and had a lot of family time. And I spent a lot of time. I've talked about it on the show a number of times that I definitely resonate with family being super important. I'm at every event. I've taken my kids just today to 2 different places, one to cross country training and the other one to a summer camp. And I'm going to I picked both of them up. So like I am very present there. But as soon as I got back was Friday and it's back into the work grind in a sense, or the work
Mm-hmm.
hustle, or the work I got to prioritize that to pay all the credit cards that are coming from the wonderful experience that we had. So
Yeah.
so we have to have some balance here. But I have had my head down. Today's Wednesday. We're recording this, and but since Friday to Wednesday, it's been pretty much like work, 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 and
Yeah.
do a little bit of family time. And so then I get into this imbalance again of doing this work thing because I need to provide for my family, and then have this constant wheel of that in a sense. And so that I have found some balance to it. There's still a lot of imbalance going on there, but I can see that. What are some other ways that you've seen guys fall into this narrative of the provider or the impact on their people around them?
I think it's just a fear of trusting God in some respects. That we do
Yeah.
discuss that. Trusting another man, somebody who they may not know as well, but may have wisdom. Maybe they can fit into a mentor cultural in their life, but they trust kind of releasing the reins to try to hold on to it because it gives them a sense of control. It doesn't always profit them very well. There's no real results that they can see,
The
nothing tangibly
ROI.
there. Yeah, it's not even there, but they still got a white knuckle grip on those reins, holding on to those. I think it's a struggle to watch that. When I do it, I really kick myself with steel toe boots. 'Cause I'm like, you should know better. You teaching folks this, and this is what you're gonna do. So I think I might have missed part of your question, but that was definitely one thing I just see. We just seeing so much more lately now, and I don't know why we continue to keep doing that, but
Mm-hmm. Well, I
we have
think
so
you
much.
said it earlier. It was generational. It's always been known that men don't ask for directions, right?
Yeah,
From great grandparents and beyond, or even if you think about, I was taking notes as you're talking, but men to men in older. Let's go back, centuries and stuff. Men to men, that there's conflict there. Usually, there's
yeah,
not there's not alignment, and there's obviously more alignment now because there's a bit more convenience in life. There's more accessibility to uh, resources, right? We have
oh yeah,
figured those
oh yeah,
things out as a human race, but we go back and we go back, people are fighting over land or resource, then there's conflict. And so men to men, there's that. So even say mental health is something you never talked about. Like men don't cry. And now we have a bit more of social acceptance around it's okay for a man to bear his emotions and to show and have feels in a sense around that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of the things that I should be getting some royalties for this book. I talk about it all the time in almost every men's setting. There's one book, excluding the Bible, of course. There's one book that has dramatically changed my life and my view on manhood. I highly recommend it to anybody who has a challenge. But even his follow-up book is by John Eldridge. It's called Wild at Heart.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah. Yep,
that book right there
that
will
one gets it.
it would not only expose an area, but it will crush the whole idea of some of these things and put you
Yeah,
on the right path. There's a follow up called Father by God, which will really mess you up. So those two books together are kind of my go tos. Honestly, like what you were saying, we don't learn a lot of this stuff, especially in modern day times. No matter what you talk about it, it's kind of just this established standard, but we don't question it. And it's like
right.
it's damaging. It's damaging to our spouses in different ways that we talked
Yeah,
about on the show. It's all damaging to our kids too, because we're
yeah,
repeating these patterns and we're growing up. We're kind of growing broken people from a place of brokenness. You know that
yeah.
can't work.
No,
That
no,
can't
you
work.
can't build. There's no foundation to support all that. So that was the third point of the shedding narrative that you did. The impact on people around us. When you aren't open, you aren't vulnerable, you don't have that community of other men to help support you. What are the common conversations of the impact of those around you? Like for me, I'll share first is that there is impact on my wife. I've had my head down working, so there's not a lot of conversation and communication or interaction, even in a sense, because I'm working and doing these things and not. But I also did a whole week's worth of. I literally was next to her pretty much 24/7. There was very little time that we weren't together. So there is that balance in a sense, and I still have to again, but that ends up being a thing. So what are some of the impacts that you see or is talked about on the show of the people around you?
I think that and this is last week's show, but it's discussed on pretty much every show. We go into I come in with a top and a direction, and we go off of the rails every single week, and it's a beautiful disaster. It's a
Oh
beautiful
yeah,
disaster. I
wonderful.
love it. But I think one of the things I see is the isolation piece. We see that the depression piece crops in. We starting to realize that we deal with depression for a long time. We didn't realize that's what it was because
Yeah.
even for myself, even hosting this show with and these incredible men that come on here, I thought that depression was white coats and padded rooms. I didn't know that depression was something that you can have and not be at that end of the spectrum, so to speak. So I didn't know that. So we're learning a lot about the whole mental health piece, and I see men who are kind of drowning themselves in their work.
Right.
They said, I got guys that can't even take a break. There was one guy, he's no longer associated with the show anymore. He decided to move on to some other things, but he was saying that he couldn't just sit down and have a day off or take a break. It filled him with fear and guilt, like he was lazy. So he would find a project to do, and he would end up falling asleep almost on a nightly basis at his desk slash workstation
Right.
because he couldn't take time to rest. I'm like,
Right.
even God rested, man.
Yeah.
What's your
Seventh day.
justification for not resting? Why do you think you don't need to do that?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was a point of contention that we had for multiple weeks and months on the show, and I don't know if you ever came to terms with the understanding of that or not, because we haven't talked a whole lot, but that's definitely a couple of factors that we see from people who are not taking into account the community and the need for self evaluation.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. As anyone talked, I'm sure talked about how their partners or their children are interacting and engaging with them when they are in this isolation or depressed, or even to say depressed would just be a lower state of energy coming from yourself than what you say should be. Now we can't always be say the best version of ourselves, but we should always be say putting the best foot forward with our energy and effort to present ourselves in the best way, in authenticity as well. We got to throw that word in there because you can't just fake it. That easily gets called out. But what is there anyone talking about some of the like their partners, their spouse, their kids, and the impact that this isolation is having on them?
Yeah, I think if I had to throw a percentage out, 80% of them, 85% of them are their spouses and their children will let them know that you're drifting.
Yeah,
They'll let them know that. This
does that.
the show's been a good barometer. It's not my words, it's theirs. It's on YouTube, Facebook. You can
Right.
see it. They're saying it, not me. I'm not prompting them. They're saying that this show has kind of been helping them stay afloat, which is intimidating to me. 'Cause I'm like, okay, this week I'm not going to have a show. You going to be all right? So I think about that kind of stuff. But there has been about 10-15% who kind of intimated that their spouses have gotten accustomed to it.
Yeah.
So there's not really a big fight. They kind of got used to the fact that this is what they're going to do.
Right. At some point, like in that situation, you are sending signals to someone, and that ends up being by default what happens. It's just human behavior, is that you end up falling to the commonalities that happen. So if you're always you come home from work and you're always grumpy, tired, then that just becomes that version of yourself that you always see and that you think about, or it just is ingrained in the day-to-day behavior around 5 o'clock. Well, John or Bill or whoever comes home, and this is how they act as a result of what they've been showing us for years of patterns of behavior.
Yeah, it's pretty. I try to fight it. I try to fight that and push back whenever I hear it. It's not often, because most of the guys they have strong spouses who are actually paying attention to what's going on in the show.
Yeah.
My wife's probably one of the biggest fans of the show from a female perspective. She watches every show. I have no idea why she's doing that.
Yeah.
She's not spying on me. She doesn't have to worry about me. We're pretty solid. This month's gonna be 30 years for us. We in this fight together. She already knows me. I know her. We good.
Yeah.
But she is a big fan. Religiously watches this show. So I don't get it. But there are a lot of women who are watching the show, and she has a lot to say about the panels and the topics, and a lot of other spouses they follow up with it as well. So there's a support system out here, and we're growing it. It's not where I want it to be, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to put yourself out there. The same thing with podcasts. I'm going to keep creating and opening up opportunities to be able to grow and put it out there so that people can get more help. Guys can.
You're doing it, man.
Healthier. Yeah, exactly,
you're doing it.
Exactly. Yep.
142, man.
Now we do, and here we go.
Yeah, man. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, very much so. All right. Vulnerability. Let's jump into that a little bit. There's something else that you said. How you shared it just a little bit ago that the guys actually, when giving a safe space to open up, it feels like vulnerability becomes a lot more natural, a lot more open, and a lot more accepted. But in your experience running the men's table, where do you see vulnerability at in terms of guys actually opening up or be willing to in the first place?
It's I have to call it a phenomenon because I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
It's a safe space that everybody can see. I get the hypocrisy of it, but I really feel led to dub it a safe space for men, and it's showing itself to be that way. I don't let people come on and dog the men. I don't let people come in, females come in and attack the men in any way. I don't allow it. Right. So in that regard, it is truly safe. There's no judgment on the show. We have different opinions, and that happens every week. But it's truly a safe space, and the men have taken to it, man. I think vulnerability shows up in the stories that they share. Because there's things that every time they share a story, they be like, you know what? I've never shared this with anybody before. Ever. It's my first time. They say that so often. I'm like, wow, okay, this is where they going deep into the well. They're going deep into the closet to pull this thing out. And I hear that very often, almost on a weekly basis. And it tells me that, these guys are open to the whole vulnerability piece. And we're breaking the narrative again with that because men aren't supposed to do that. It's not allowed. It's taboo. Shame on you if you do it, but that's what they do every single week. I'm so impressed by them because that's what they're doing. And I think it's making an impact because every week I challenge them at the beginning of the show. What's changed? What's different? What's the takeaway? What have you applied? And everybody has something different that they've done every single week, every time. I trust them to be honest about that. And there's been a vocalized change every single week. And the vulnerability piece had to be the start of it. I don't know what else to point to say, you know what? I attribute the success of that to this. It's vulnerability, man. It has to be.
Yeah, definitely. If someone's walking into the arena, then it's a Theodore Roosevelt, I think, or Franklin Roosevelt. It's one of those guys. I think it's Franklin, but it was talked about the arena and being in the game. You're playing the game. Like, we're in the arena of entrepreneurship. We are playing the game, and once you get into the arena, then the game changes. We're not bystanders watching in, throwing tomatoes or comments or whatever. We're actually on the field doing the thing that is there. And as soon as someone then goes from the outside coming in, then they get a different perspective around what's happening, what life is actually looking like, and the real engagement of it all. That ends up being, they're open to being vulnerable, I believe. And I see that in my world when people say, "Hey, I'm overweight. I need some health. I have bad blood panels. There's a number of health things that are going on with me. I need to change." I even had a guy join my Call to Rise program on Monday, and he's lost probably 1,000 pounds in his life for
Oh my
30
goodness,
years.
that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, he's been as low as 175. He's been as high as 260, and he's gone up and down, up and down, and up and down for decades. So I just asked him, "Hey, just gross estimate, like, how much weight have you lost?" It's like 1,000 pounds or something. But he's still unhappy with where he's at, and he's still not there. So we have to like figure out what this identity piece is of who he is and all. And I do a pretty great job with coaching and creating connection and vulnerability and openness, because I create a safe space to allow for that. And then it gets conversations talking. So I get to see men, a lot of different perspectives of these guys, and how taking care of themselves ends up being a catalyst for improving other areas of their life, so that they can be more open. They can change some of their narratives, that they just shed those narratives, and connect with other men. That is something that a reason why I do it. Is I know, just like, there's no one. Most of the guys that I ever work with and have for years don't have another Brian in their life. They don't have a health driven leader, in a sense, that shows up and says, "No, it's cool to take care of yourself. It's the right thing to do, and it's going to benefit you in the long run and the people around you." Like, they just don't have that because of who they surround themselves with. And that's important, because if you don't have if you're not surrounded by a Mr. U or a Brian, Coach Brian or something, then it's very easy to just get lost in the shuffle of everyday life, and that's just not it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that quote, I think it's by Teddy Roosevelt. It's a long quote, but I think the gist of it is that the critics are not the ones that count. I guess it's the ones who are actually in the arena, which I think is what you're saying, man. So that's awesome stuff. Yeah, that's definitely factual for us, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to be in the fight, man.
Yeah. We have to. And when you are in the arena, you can't allow anyone that's not in the arena to tear you down or throw stones at you, because that does happen, right? And you even said you protect the space as best you can, so that that's just not welcome. It's not allowed. It's not tolerated. And then that helps with the vulnerability and the openness to actually move the needle in these guys' lives, to open up and be more forthcoming and start to change things.
Yeah, I love what's going on. I've been implementing a lot of different ideas with the show, and I think they have a deeper value than what it might look like on the surface. There's two forces at play with our men's roundtable: the guys that are on stage and the guys that are in the chat.
Yeah,
I try to let the guys know all the time. Say, just because you're in the chat doesn't mean you're not relevant, because the guys in the chat drive our conversations every single week. The question they ask, the things that they shit, if they show up, absolutely, they drive the conversation. Because sometimes we have to pivot because of a comment or a question that somebody's putting out there, or somebody's moderating in the chat, and it makes the show come alive. it brings us closer to the people that are actually watching and listening. So we're hearing from the people directly. So that chat is of major importance to me. I don't diminish it at all. I want
They're
the
in the
guys to
arena
understand.
too. Yeah, you can only have
Exactly.
so many people on the show before it becomes this like talking
Yeah.
at each other in a sense, right?
We
So
started we started like that. We had like 10, 11 guys at a time. I'm like, wow, we can't do this anymore.
yeah,
so now
too hard,
so
right?
now
No
so
one
not, not,
actually.
not yeah, it took us an hour and a half to finish a few thoughts. So we had addressed that, but we're good now. We got it better now. But the chat,
Yeah,
because the guys are coming in, they won't say anything. They're watching, listening, but they won't say anything. And those questions, those comments, the poll questions, it's impacting. I mean, I'm hearing the testimonies later on, like the guys was watching, listening, they were in the chat, didn't say anything, didn't ask a question, didn't throw their hand up, and they got something out of it that was impactful for them. So I'm like, yeah, we got this is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
everyone has lived experience and has value that they can add to someone else that has not lived that same experience. So there's value in every human on the earth, and that's why you should be you, because everyone needs a you in a sense. And when we show up in our authentic self as much as we can, then we can add real value to the people closest to us, and then start
Yeah.
it rippling out to others. Most definitely. Speaking of change, right? So you're putting this on for change. Let's talk about some stories of change, and then maybe we can talk about what are some of the initiators of like the coaching and the impact of you having in people's lives, or and what helps actually start to facilitate some of these things you're talking about shedding the narrative, being vulnerable and stuff. But what what are some of the things that you've seen as like testament to the men's roundtable and guys being more open? Like, do you have a story or two that just jumps out and it's like, yeah, this is this guy was a closed box, wrapped up, dropped into the bottom of the ocean, locked and never to come out, and then we get him to really open up.
Yeah. I had a guy that was essentially I don't want to give any identifiers out about him, but
Of course.
I would say that he was from the John Wayne era of manhood.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he came in with that. It was as staunch as you can imagine. Everybody in his life has just accepted that as the thing. And when he would come on the show, we would have battles, and not purposely like boom, 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 but it's kind of just like, I would have to push back on most of what he said. I'm like, I can't let that be the accepted practice for people who are watching and listening. So I can't let it happen. I have to be a voice for the other side of it. Not devil's advocate, because I won't advocate for the devil, but I have to make sure that we have both sides of this thing rolling. So we would do that. We did that for I don't know how many months. We were a monthly show at first. We did that for like about 6 or 7 months of that. And before, well, at the end, if you will, the man was on screen, eyes sweating, talking about his the reality that, what he's been doing, he can't continue to keep doing it. He has to pivot, he has to adjust. And those are big things for him to say.
Yeah.
It was huge for him. He was a poster child for what the men's roundtable can do. And that's just one of many stories, man. He's a different person today, man. And I'm giving God the credit. I ain't taking no credit for it, but
Of
honestly,
course. Yeah.
I honestly feel like the platform.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
facilitating the
I
the,
feel
the
like
opportunity.
yeah, out of his own mouth. I think he said that. You know what? I look forward to this every week on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. I need this. I need to be around this. It's helping me grow. Iron sharpens iron. All of the adages you can come up
Yeah.
with. And he was just a staunch advocate for what we were doing. And I'm like, wow, that's a big departure from the John Wayne guy who said, I ain't vulnerable. I ain't opening up. I'm not crying. I'm not sharing anything. He was saying all those things stubbornly, rigid.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then look what happened. So, yeah,
Right.
huge.
All right. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Sometimes we have a big hardened shell that protects us from, and we've done that to ourselves as a result of the environment that we've been in. and it takes a lot of different opportunities and whatnot to be able to shed that shell that we have put around ourselves to protect
Oh yeah,
ourselves and be open. So that's really
definitely.
cool. Well, let's go into the coaching side, or the actual conversation of the change. What are some of the ways that you help facilitate change? For me, facilitating change in a guy's life, especially around in the health thing, educating them around what nutrition actually is. Like, this is how you actually really eat food. This is what it's in the food that you eat. This is the type that you have to balance and portion, and this is how we move our bodies, and this is how we take care of ourselves, and this is what it should look like pretty much every day. And then I have to keep reminding them of those basic things that help them, and that's how I start to facilitate the change that happens over weeks, right? Because you say we need to lose 20 pounds, that's a 10 to 20 pound 20 week effort to lose that much weight, in a
Yeah.
sense, based on an individual's life, their circumstances, metabolism, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But for you, how do you help facilitate change? Like, are there skills, education, tools that you use that really get someone to open up and to start shedding the narrative, being open, vulnerable, all these things?
Yeah, we definitely have a pathway, a multi-step pathway to this, that a framework that I built for this. Uh, I spend a lot of time asking a lot of questions, and
Yeah.
I know it almost sounds like an interrogation at times, but I really feel like
Yeah, me too.
that's been the most valuable, because I what what people give you isn't always what's actually going on. So
Yeah, yeah.
the questions are designed to drill down. Here's the example I try to use for people who may not understand our process. When your kid, whichever one, it could be the boy or the girl, doesn't matter, same premise, and everything that you say, they say why to it.
No,
Three
yeah.
whys,
A,
five whys,
X,
10 whys.
Z. Yeah.
By 8 or 10 whys, you're frustrated at this point,
Uh-huh.
and your next answer is going to be because I said so. But actually, the more they drill down, we get down to the real reason why you don't want them to do whatever X
Right.
or Y or Z is. And I want to get down to what the problem is, because
Right.
we can sit there for 6 months, and I try to elongate the relationship in the sessions, but I don't want to do that. I want to
Yeah.
actually,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
actually have you walk away with help that you can see, a tangible change, a result, an outcome. And the only way for me to do that is to get all the questions out on the front end. Why are we here? Because what they give you initially in a questionnaire or whatever isn't always the thing. I want to find out what's the thing. People give you symptoms sometimes
Yeah.
when you're coaching
Yeah.
them. No,
Yeah.
I want the
Here's
root
the
cause.
band-aid response.
Why are you sneezing? What are you allergic to? I want to find out what's going on at the core.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask a lot of questions on the front end, because it's just my practice. I'm not going to say
Oh,
this is
great.
revolutionary or magical. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that stuff. I can't compare it to anything. I don't watch anybody else's work. All I'm saying is that what I do in the front end is I drill down as much as I can, so we can find out this is where we're going to start from.
Right.
This
Who's
is the
this
area where,
person?
yeah,
Right. Where are they at? What gaps do we need to start closing, and how we do it in
yeah,
the easiest next best step? That's usually what I
identity,
think. Right.
habits. I
Yep.
want to find out what am I working with, because I want to know, because
Yep.
I'm happy to turn somebody down if it's not a fit. If it doesn't work, I'm like, I want to invest 9, 12 months of my life away from my family and other ventures if you don't want to really do anything. So
Yeah.
I need to understand that from up front. So I mean, to make sure that we are in a mutually
Right.
beneficial relationship where both of us have the same end goal in mind and we're on the same page. I
Right.
got to find that out up front. So the initial part of my practice is a lot of questions. It's extensive. It's intensive. It's both of those put together.
Right.
I got to understand before we move
Yep.
on to the framework and pathways.
Agreed. You
Yeah.
you want friction in the beginning part of the process to then get to the people who work through all of that to then actually accept the responsibility. Same thing on my end
Yeah, absolutely.
is go listen to a couple podcasts, go look through my website, go look through testimonial conversations I've had. Then we're going to talk for 30 plus minutes. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions to see where you're at, and then we start to then like, oh, this does make a lot of sense. I can actually help you. I don't want your money, I want value. right? I want you to get the results that you're looking for, and then I get a happy client to work with, and then money is just the default of the exchange of energy in this for the coaching in a sense. But they get the result that they wanted, which was in majority of the cases they want to never have to worry about what foods they're eating and never have to worry about if the scale is going to go back up again. They lose the weight and they're
Yeah.
able to keep it
Yeah.
off. So definitely. Excellent. Now, so you're doing it Thursday nights, 7 p.m. You've been on, where are we at? We've got it on YouTube. We've got it. Where else do we have it?
We got it on Facebook. I'm staying there for those two now. I had it everywhere on social, but I felt like I was spreading myself too thin
Sure.
in places that I couldn't, didn't
up.
feel great about investing in. So right now, you can go there and find old clips, but from right now, YouTube and Facebook is all that I'm trying to accomplish. So that's where you can find everything. I do a men's roundtable series spotlight every single Thursday, all day long. So these one-on-ones, like how we're doing right now, I have those all day long every Thursday. The roundtable is just the one that we do in the evening at 7 p.m. So that's that's kind of the format. The spotlight's usually 15, 20 minutes. This roundtable could be an hour and a half. It depends on how we're flowing.
Right.
But YouTube and Facebook right now is where we are, and hopefully my website will be fixed made at some point in time, because I would love to leverage that as well. But we're not there yet. But
I'm looking at our conversation. July 30th it was released, so just a little bit ago, a couple of days ago.
Absolutely,
the spotlight,
man.
The men's roundtable series spotlight, expose the high performance live with Coach Brian Pirana. So very cool.
Yeah, man. I love how it's the kind of reaction it's getting to, which is a good thing.
yeah, definitely, and the collaboration that's coming. It's great. All right, so we got you on those two places. What are some, as we wrap up, what are some guidance that you could bestow upon the guy that's still listening to us talk about being open, being vulnerable, creating trust in themselves a lot, most importantly, and then being able to open up to trust others?
I say this with all humility, because I know that this is not easy, especially for folks who have been damaged and they've been broken. But I would ask them this question: if you didn't change anything, what would it look like 5, 10, 15 years down the line?
Right.
What would it look like if you didn't change anything? If you just say, you know what, I'm going to stick to what I'm doing right now, how would it look? How would your marriage look? How would your relationship with your kids look? How would your view of your own self-esteem look? How would it look? If you could say, you know what, it wouldn't look good, send somebody a message. Send Coach Brian a message. Send me a message.
Right.
Don't worry about my website not being up. Don't worry about me not having 1 million followers, or same for Coach Brian. Send us a message. Yep. Let's start the conversation, because that could be literally your lifeline. Because I've been in that place where, you know, the bottle of pills look better than my reality. You know, I've been there, so I get what happens. But if I had somebody to reach out to, it probably wouldn't have been going on as long as it did. So I would just say, you know, ask yourself that question and then reach out. Email, private message, text, phone call, snail mail, whatever you use.
Right. Send smoke.
Use
signals.
it. Send a carrier pigeon. Do something with somebody that you feel like, you know what, they have something that might be able to be of help to me. Even if you can't verify it fully, if you think it might be some sort of assistance, especially in this scenario with Coach Brian or myself or both, reach out. I believe it's going to be of great benefit, because you won't be alone, and you have somebody who is willing to listen to what you have to say and hear your voice. And I think as men, we just want to be known. We want to be recognized for what we do. So, and who we are.
Totally agree with that. So the men's roundtable by Mista U, he brings today a lot of really insight, and that's why I wanted to have him on. We talked about a couple of things that were important. We got father wounds, we got men-to-men connection, we've got blended families, we've got a lot of things that are going on with men in real time and for generations that we have to work through. And some of the powerful things that we find on his series and shows and the conversations that he has with every day is shedding the narrative. And what is that, the impact of that going to have on the people around us to get out of isolation and even depression, not even just from, as we said, the padded white room, but of just not showing up as yourself. Having lower energy is depression, and doing behaviors such as being a workaholic can be a sign and a symptom of you being depressed and not actually living a life that you are excited about or live in anticipation. But ultimately, it comes down to trust and vulnerability and finding people, men closer to you, and creating those relationships, or even creating the opportunities, like he just said, of opening up a conversation so that you can then share connection with someone and at least start moving in the direction, because awareness is the first step for you to move forward. And then you can start to say, get into the arena, get into the game of life and start playing it in a much better way than you are. And you don't have to John Wayne it in a sense. You can be your authentic self and have feelings and share those with people and be open, because your life will be that much more rewarding as a result.
Yeah.
So wrapping up with our conversation here, Driven for Health, I want to thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Information will be down in the show notes, as will mine. If you need some help with health, dropping some weight, overcoming chronic illness, that's what the call to rise is. We can set you up there. And it's both he and I are implementation of information and action. You have to implement, you have to move, take steps forward to get the change that you want in your life. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much. Appreciate you listening in, and off we go.
Thank you, sir.